Good afternoon. I'm going to wait for people to start popping in. I'll be right back. Sure. No, I've got the other little one in here, but it's dead and charging out. Don't worry, I'm here. There we go. Just wanted to set up a second screen just to see what's going on. And I'm about ready to start some music. Thank you. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Sean. How are you doing, dude? Another exciting day. I'm about ready to bring up some stuff on YouTube for this to get a little bit of music going. Although everybody's jacked up all of the stuff, so I've got to find out where my stuff is. But glad to see folks are popping in. Today, I wasn't sure. Had some ideas about what I was going to do today, but that ended up changing a couple of times. Right now, I've got two different people who are planning on sending me shirts. So that's way to get a sponsorship. I think it's next week. I'm sponsored by a good friend of mine to promote her business, making jewelry. And the week after that, I'm going to be sponsored by a friend of mine from Illinois who is in the medical profession. And she's going to be choosing individually to sponsor me on just basically to, again, talk about the healthcare needs and all the stuff that people are going through. I've been talking with her a lot, and I know that we're all dealing with different things right now. But as we go through, I need to find the right... There we go. There's my Montana Kennedy. If you ever need to find me anywhere online, you can always search for Montana Kennedy. The problem is you can find me, or in a couple of cases, you'll find a person who's legitimately named Montana Kennedy, who is a fashion/lifestyle person on the west coast of Australia. She's a lot cuter than I am, but anyway, I don't know. Let's see here. I am going to look up my playlist, and there we go. Playlist I'm going to have in the background. A friend of mine had got hold of videos of the performance I did about 25 years ago while in the Army bands. So you're going to hear some big band jazz stuff going on in the background. If you can't hear it, let me know. If it gets too loud, let me know. So now that we've got some people on, I am going to be making some sausage gravy today. A few weeks ago, that's a little bit too loud for my purpose. There we go. A few weeks back, I made baking powder biscuits, and so you can take a look on those, and if you go back to my older videos, you'll see the baking powder biscuits that I made. And so I already made a batch of those today. So baking powder biscuits that I made this morning. You can do, for the biscuits part of this, you can do those. You can do, I'm not going to judge. You can go and get the tube of biscuits at the store and throw them in your oven, and they're done and they're just fine, and they work perfectly for this. I just like making my own stuff from scratch, so there we go. So I've got the biscuits already made. Biscuits you can make in advance, you can make during. It's just a whole lot easier to do this stuff at the same time. So I'm going to be starting to make the gravy aspect of this here in a second. One of the key things is the sausage gravy. You're going to need some sausage. I'm doing it the easy way. I've got the pre-made patties sausage that just breakfast sausage you can get frozen. This is about a half pound's worth. I'm going to throw this in the microwave. Hey, Keith, how are you doing? Keith, another former Army bandsman. Keith will appreciate that the music that's going on in the background is First U.S. Army Jazz Band from a performance that we did in about '95. Let's see here. So I'm going to defrost the frozen sausage patties I have. You can use regular. I hope the microwave is not too loud. You can use regular sausage for this, like they get the tube O sausage. You can use this. I'm using about a ½ pound of sausage for this recipe. That's going to do what I would consider to be 2 full orders of biscuits and gravy, where you'll have the full biscuit open, sausage on the biscuit, and then the sausage gravy dumped on top. And so we'll be able to get into that. So while that is getting defrosted, I'm going to go ahead and start working here in the skillet. All this is, and you've heard me talk about it before, Betty Crocker cookbook. You go in there, you look for the white sauce. That's all this is a white sauce that you're mixing in with the gravy. I mean, mixing in with the sausage and the oil and the grease from the sausage and the little sausage bits. But to make that, I'm going to turn on my stove here. It is typically about a 1-to-1 mix of butter and flour. Us Americans are weird. Yeah, thanks a lot, Sean. But for everybody else's information, Sean is one of my wonderful Canadian friends, and I will freely admit that Americans are weird, and we do lots of different things. And I would just be interested in finding out what aspect of this is weird, whether it is us making sausage gravy or what we're doing with this. Because I know this is very much a Southern thing. This is very much an American thing. You can get biscuits and gravy in any truck stop or any cafe that has breakfast. And usually it's one of the things you can use to figure out. Oh, butter on, yeah, I know, butter on biscuits. That's a good way to have it. There's, you can do butter on biscuits. Earlier, the breakfast I had was taking the sausage that taking the biscuits I'd made and egg and cheese on the biscuits. So make a little sandwich. So I've kind of thought up some of this. I am going to take this skillet, and while I'm doing this, I'm going to take the cutting board out, a small one, and I've already sharpened this. I'm going to take 2 of these patties, and I'm going to essentially, like if I'm using a tube of sausage, I'll just form some small patties with them. And I'm putting that on medium-high heat. In this case, I'm going to cut these into quarters. These are already pre-cooked sausage patties. I just nuked them a little bit to thaw them out. And the whole thing I'm doing here is I'm just going to start dicing this stuff up. Don't forget my disinfectant. I'm going to start cutting these into small pieces, which if you're using the tube of sausage, you're going to end up doing something more along the lines of, it's almost like you're browning hamburger. Just watch your tools and how you're doing stuff. The use of any of this stuff, at least sausage isn't as bad as it was like 30, 40 years ago. You'll still run into people who are completely paranoid about what sausage is like and whether or not it's completely done or not. And they'll just like cook the daylights out of sausage, just making it tougher than anything. And so that's partially based in 1960s and 70s. There finally started to be some changes in how pork was produced in the country. Prior to that, people on pork farms would just feed anything to their hogs, and the hogs had real issues with getting different types of infections. Like trichinosis is one of the worst things, but they ended up dealing with a lot of that just due to regulation, as well as just changing, like science and changing their diets. So I'm going to let these sit and warm up and brown up and cook. I've got the butter is now on low heat, and hey Carol, I've got the butter on low heat, and I'm about ready to add the flour to it. Like I said, you're doing about a 1-to-1. I've got 4 tablespoons of butter in here. I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of flour. A little more. And then from this point, I just whisk that in. This is my personal favorite whisk. A lot of people have one of these. This is my personal favorite gravy whisk. This makes the best gravy. And so I'm going to take that. I'll get the flour. And so you're just like this is making a roux. This is just doing a white sauce. Really, like I said, from the Betty Crocker cookbook. You're just doing, this is the simplest of simple sauces that you can make, and then all you're going to be doing is adding the sausage to it. And in this case, I had heavy whipping cream. Normally you can just use milk for this, but the whipping cream makes it so much better. The thing to watch out for is it does like to thicken up. It thickens up a lot quicker than what you're dealing with on milk. So you just kind of have to watch out for what you're doing there. Okay, I can smell the sausage going there. Let me get the sausage. I'll start playing with that. And part of this is I've got the larger pieces of sausage. I'll use those on top of the biscuits. And I've got the smaller pieces of sausage. I just want to brown those. And so I'm going to keep those going in there. Get that going. The only issue really here is you got to keep on stirring the gravy. All right, do I even want to know what link Jason is linking to? But anyway, so I've got the gravy. It's sitting here. It's starting to thicken up. And so as part of this, it's just, right now, you're just looking at butter, flour, and some heavy whipping cream. I'm going to add a little bit more now that it's starting to thicken up. There we go. And I'm going to put this on low, down on 1, because you don't want that to thicken up too much. You don't want it to get congealed. I'm seeing more people are showing up. Nice to see you all. I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. Hope everybody is staying safe and well. I've got continuing to hear reports from friends of mine from around the country. And some of them are having better luck than others. A very good friend of mine in the medical field, she just got a negative test, so she's really happy. All right, so I'm going to call that pretty good. I am going to go ahead and start pulling some of my sausage out. Somebody was commenting a couple weeks ago about my use of chopsticks when I'm cooking, and I've really started to enjoy. I mean, ever since we really started getting into cooking Asian food and eating more Asian food around our house, especially Korean, you'll find me cooking with chopsticks a lot of the time. I'm going to turn that off. And so, the best part of this is all the little. You don't want to have to worry about your stuff getting a little bit burnt on this, because if it's a little bit brown. Chef Ann says, brown food is good. Add some color, adds a little bit of stuff to what you're dealing with. And then what I'm going to do here in a second, make sure I get all of these good pieces out of here, is I am going to take this little ladle here. I'm going to add some into this pan. And I'm going to use that to deglaze just a little bit. This is going to get some of the stuff up out of there. Alright, so there was some stuff sausage and stuff there down the bottom. If you've got really fatty sausage, it's not going to be too much of a problem. So that's just kind of thickened up that little bit of gravy that was in there. But then what I'm going to end up with is a much cleaner pan and more of the little stuff that's in there. And it's also going to help the color of what's going to come across. All right. So that cleans up that really well. And so I'm going to keep that spoon because I'll be using it later on. And now I'm gone from this pale kind of a milky color, kind of a yellowish milky color. I'm going to be moving from that into more of a darker color, especially here in a second, because I am going to add a little bit of pepper to this. Never add straight in, because if you add straight in, one of those times, all of this stuff's going to dump in. So I've just got about half a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of salt. Because like I said, this is a really bland sauce when you start out. If you're just doing milk, butter, and flour to it, that's essentially, it's a paste. So it's just going to sit there and it's going to thicken up. And if the sauce gets a little bit too thick, that's fine. Just add a little bit more cream to it. Add a little bit more milk if you've got milk. Just however you want to do it. You don't have to use cream. I'm just using cream because I have cream. Most of the time when I make this, I only have milk in the fridge, so that's what I will do there. And so it's starting to thicken up. And it's been this whole time on the lowest heat setting. And so I'm going to... That needs a little bit more pepper. And so you want to make sure that you're testing this at any time that you cook. You want to make sure that you taste it as you're going, because you don't want to be surprised when it gets to the table. So I'm adding about another quarter teaspoon of pepper. I'm going to stir that in. There we go. And there we go. We are probably just about golden with this. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to take another. Now, if you're doing a big dinner party, I wouldn't suggest that you're just like taste testing out of the thing. But, you know, personally, I could probably go for more pepper with this. I know my wife's taste, and so I can add pepper to this, even though she wouldn't want any more in there. Again, just even be cognizant of whoever is going to be eating this. Be aware of what they want. If they don't like stuff as salty or as peppery, just cook it to their level and then just add more salt and pepper to yours. Be courteous of whoever you're cooking for. You don't always have to cook to your taste. But for this is really easy. This is really simple. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the fridge and get something out of the fridge. It is the afternoon. I'm going to have an adult beverage while I talk to you. Yummy. By the way, in case you're interested, that is Lost 40 Brewing Company out of Little Rock. That's their day drinker. So, I already mentioned earlier, I had my biscuits that I made. These are the baking powder biscuits I made a few weeks ago. I'm going to grab 2 of those. And then anytime you ever crack open the biscuits, don't cut into them. Use a fork. I'm going to throw that right over in here. Get that out of the way. Get that over there. Get that over here. So, let me see. I'm going to plate these over here so you get a little better view of them, because I know you can't see what's going on right in front. So, anytime that you're cracking open biscuits, take a fork right into the side. And then what you do is this way you end up with fewer crumbs all over the place, less damage to your stuff. You don't tear out all the stuff. So I'm going to take that there and do the same with this one. Because all your biscuits, if they're done the right way, they are going to have layers in them, and your fork will find the layers. I'm going to put these pieces. Remember, I took the sausage earlier and I took the big things, the frozen patties of sausage, and I quartered them. So that way you can kind of fit a little bit better. You can do this however you want. If you're using those big grand sausages and you're really hungry, being the big grand brand biscuits, the really big ones, you can take those and throw the whole patty on each one of these. Depends on how big you are and how much you want to eat. So I've got a couple of these plated. I've got biscuits. I've got sausage. And now for the gravy. And if you like it thinner, just add a little bit more liquid. If you don't like it thinner, just let it cook a little bit longer and it'll thicken up. That's the whole thing here, is just on the gravy like this, low heat is better than anything else. All you got to do is you got to melt the butter and then put everything else together. And so here you go, heart attack on a plate. I like this with like a Louisiana style or Crystal style hot sauce is good on here. Maybe a little more pepper on top. But other than that, 20 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the gravy, and we are good to go on that. I would love to answer any questions anybody has. This is one of my favorite go-tos. As I mentioned, we like to make biscuits. I like to make biscuits. And we'll use those egg and cheese or egg sausage and cheese sandwiches real easy. Then, especially if you've got the frozen stuff in the freezer, you can just pull that stuff out, microwave it with the eggs, with whatever, and do some good stuff. Or you can do it in the skillet and make it almost more like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit or something from any of the various stores you're going to go to. But I would be more than happy to take any questions this time. Otherwise, I know that we are... Otherwise, I'm just glad that everybody is staying safe and everybody's having a chance to come by and see this. As with a lot of people, just as a reminder, I'm trying to do this because I like to talk to people. I need some interaction, and over the last few weeks, like a lot of other people, I have been missing that interaction. So this is a way I get to go and see my friends on the internet and say hey and talk back and forth and get a chance to maybe also brag on my cooking a little bit. So, but again, I cannot stress enough how much I want people to stay safe. You guys need to all stay here and try to make sure that you guys are doing the right things and taking the steps you need to keep you and yours safe. As we kind of keep on going, this is going to be going on for a while. I know they're talking about opening the country on May 4th, Star Wars Day, but I do not expect that is going to help anything. If anything, I think it's going to make things a little bit worse. But I'm a historian, what do I know? So for those of you who know history, we will repeat it. Related to anything else, I know that I think it's probably next week. Thanks to a wonderful friend of mine over in Oklahoma, I'm going to be sponsored by her. She makes custom jewelry. I think some of you, especially with a feminist or a left-leaning bent, so I think some of you are going to really enjoy seeing some of her stuff when I start pushing it. So she's probably going to be able to support next week's with the t-shirt. The week after that, by May, either the week or the 2 weeks after that, I should be getting sponsored by a friend of mine from Illinois who is in the medical field, and so she's going to be doing that. If you do choose to sponsor one of these episodes, this all came out of a joking comment from a person I know up in Montana that I was wearing an old t-shirt like I am today. So as a result of that, last week I was able to push the Occidental Hotel in Buffalo, Wyoming, and I was wearing one of their shirts. So in the future, I'll be wearing some other people's shirts, brand new t-shirts. Just if you want to do something, buy me a shirt. I'll sponsor I'll talk whatever you want me to talk. Just talk to me ahead of time, and we'll get everything worked out. That's about as far as I go for sponsorships. So I don't have my own cooking line yet, but that's in the works. That would be insane if I ever had my own stuff. But my food's sitting behind me getting cold, and I'm starting to get hungry. And so unless anybody else has anything else, and Janet had a very wise thing to say, stay safe and healthy, wash your hands. If you're not washing your hands, you're not doing the right thing. So stay safe, take care of those around you, try and help them to stay safe. Just remember, the life you're saving is not necessarily your own. The life you're saving might be somebody else. And so that's really kind of where we all become responsible for what's going on. So if anybody has any questions, if you have a request as to what we're going to be doing in the future, I already said I've got a couple of plans, and I'll usually announce ahead of time what it is I'm going to be making. The one for my friend in Oklahoma is going to be very much an Oklahoma region specialty. The one for Illinois is very much a central Illinois specialty. That one's definitely a heart attack on the plate. If you thought biscuits and gravy is bad for you, wait until you do my Illinois special. So I will hopefully see you all here. And again, if somebody is interested in doing a sponsorship, holler at me and we'll talk about what it is. And just throw me a t-shirt. I'll be happy to wear it and talk up your particular activity, business, whatever you're doing. So thanks a lot, and hope you guys have a good time making this. Bye.